The purpose of this video is to show you how to graph a frequency polygon. A frequency polygon is just a line graph that emphasizes the continuous change in frequencies. Over on the right we have the frequency distribution for the GPS device price data. We're going to go ahead and graph the frequency polygon for this distribution. To do that, it's fairly easy. We want to just graph the points or the ordered pairs on the frequency polygon, and your ordered pairs. The x-coordinate will be the midpoint, y-coordinate will be the frequency of each class. As soon as you've got your points graphed, then you just connect the points with line segments. So keep in mind the points on your graph will be the midpoint of each class for the x-coordinate and the frequency of the class for the y-coordinate. Okay, let's go ahead and find those midpoints. First thing to do, locate and label midpoints along the x-axis. Let's do that. So I'll put a broken line in here and the first midpoint. This is just to let my reader know that I'm smushing this horizontal distance between 0 and 86.5 into this little section of the graph, okay? Make sure your midpoints are equally spaced. Okay, once you've got your midpoints located and labeled along your x-axis, the next thing to do is draw points. Above each midpoint, draw a point whose height above the x-axis is equal to the frequency of that class. So notice the first class has a frequency of 5, so we need to go ahead and locate a point at 5, and we probably ought to scale our graph, the y-axis of our graph. Notice the largest frequency is 8, so I'll go ahead and scale the y like this: 2, 4, 6, 8. Put the word frequency up here. The first class midpoint is 86.5. The first class frequency is 5, so above this midpoint I'm going to draw a dot or an ordered pair whose height is 5. That should be up there at 5, so about right there. Then above the next midpoint I'm going to draw a dot or an ordered pair whose height is 8. Above the next midpoint I'm going to put a dot or an ordered pair whose height is 6. Frequency of the fourth class is 5, so we need another dot at 5 above the next midpoint. The next class has a frequency of 2, so we'll put a dot above the next midpoint here whose height is 2, and then 1, 3. Okay, so that's steps 1 and 2 of drawing the polygon. Totally complete. Let's finish this thing. We'll do steps 3 and 4, 5 and 6 here. Step 3 now. We're going to locate the left-hand intercept. So we're making a polygon. A polygon is a closed geometric figure. So a polygon is a geometric figure that is consisted of line segments and it has to be a closed figure. You're familiar with polygons. A triangle is one type of polygon. It's a three-sided polygon, and it's a closed figure. It's not open. This would be an example of an open three-sided figure. This is not a polygon because it's not a closed figure. So because we're making a frequency polygon, we need to make a closed geometric figure with the x-axis. This requires that we do steps 3 and 4, locating x and x-intercepts. Okay, so there's a left-hand intercept, and we're going to locate that intercept the same distance away from the midpoint. So I need to put it, I guess, about right here. Need to modify this, put my broken line here. Might need to get out the whiteout here, see if I can fix that. Okay, let me fix this. Okay, left-hand intercept ought to be around the same distance away from 86 as the distance between 86.5 and 142.5. So, and in fact, how far below 86.5 is this point? Well, distance of class width. So all we need to do is subtract the class width from the lowest class midpoint, 86.5, and then we'll have this, the value of this leftmost intercept. So I'm going to go ahead and recall that the class width for this distribution is 56. So when I subtract 56 from 86.5, I'm going to get 30.5. So this coordinate is at 30.5. And we can go ahead and draw a line segment from that intercept to the first point on our polygon. Now let's go ahead and do step 4. We're going to locate the right-hand x-intercept. We're adding the class width to the largest class midpoint, this number here, and we ought to get this number here. So adding 56, the class width, to this last class midpoint will give us the value represented at this intercept, so 478.5. Now just go back in there and do step 5. Connect your points with line segments. Final graph needs to make a closed geometric figure with the x-axis for it to be a polygon. So we've accomplished that since we've got our intercepts, one on the left and one on the right. Okay, and if you want to, you can go in there and shade the area, help your reader identify the polygon. So this helps us visualize the shape of the data, how spread out the data is, and whether or not there's any trends. It seems like there's a lot of GPS devices in this range, in the $142 range. Don't forget at the very end to label. Yeah, right. Don't forget to label your X and Y axis, okay? And don't just simply label your x-axis midpoints, which I see a lot of students do. The correct way to label your x-axis is to let your reader know what variable you're graphing. In this case, it's GPS. Device price data. And I think the picture could look a little bit better, maybe if we left out these calculation marks. But anyway, that gives you an example of how to sketch the frequency polygon by hand.